Hi everyone, Bandana here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a little run through of Post Malone's Murder Circus, or at least the information we've gotten so far. And I will stress the thumbnail is kind of true because I had no idea who Post Malone was until he did this interview and I had to go and look at who he was. So sorry Gen Z, I'm afraid I'm simply not an existing fan and just didn't know who he was. I think I'd heard the name banded around before, but certainly didn't really know any of his music. What I will say is I do like the look of this event, at least in the sense that it's adding some very new stuff to the maps and obviously the new variants of the enemies and the new boss or mini boss. Because one thing I would say is some of the events in the last year have felt a little bit repetitive. But the plan is we're going to go through this new trailer that they've put up just now and we're going to talk about some of the points on it.
Hello, I'm Dennis Schwartz, Design Director for Hunt Showdown 1896. Today I'm excited to share more info about our next update, Post Malone's Murder Circus, the latest in-game event coming to Hunt on December 12th, 2024.
Well, there you go. We got a date and it's really soon. They've really left it last minute to give us all the information about this one. I mean, it's literally in 6 days' time.
This is our biggest event ever and we are so excited to show you what's in store. First off, we are thrilled to be collaborating with artist and Hunt superfan Post Malone. As a core Hunt player himself, Post Malone brought and inspired tons of ideas and feedback on unique themes and equipment.
So I just say, I mean, I'm not a fan of Post Malone. I didn't know who he was really, as I said at the start of the video, but I did watch the interview and it's really nice that you can tell he actually plays the game. He obviously thinks he's amazing at it, and maybe he is. He's probably better than me, but it's nice that he's actually someone who's played the game and enjoyed it and wants to be involved because of that.
Players will see him featured as the Deposed King and Ringmaster of the Murder Circus, a deadly carnival that once operated under his control, but now runs rampant under the influence of a corrupted artifact called the Heliostone. This event brings in a new circus-themed compound, stunning new weapons, traits, other gameplay activities and more. We also welcome Ursa Mortis, a
Look at that creature. Look at it. It's got 4 arms. Obviously, it's got 2 heads as well, but I just appreciate the 4 arms. And I think the animation on it looks really good from this. So if it's animated well in game, then well done to the team.
massive bloodthirsty bear who defends the carnival from intruders. The new Murder Circus Compounds.
This is really cool. They've never, as far as I'm aware, done like these proper little compounds before. Obviously, we've had those rings of wagons and stuff that have appeared in a few of the events. But to have a proper compound that's got other stuff going on, I'm really pleased to see they're starting to do something like that for these events. Because the events, they've felt a bit repetitive and the same. And when you've done multiple events where you've not got a lot of variation in what's going on with them, it gets kind of boring and you're kind of forcing yourself through them if you're a fan of the game that keeps coming back. So I'm really pleased to see they've added this, and it's going to be something quite different.
Will be present across various locations on our maps and Bounty Hunt. Hunters can explore the circus ring, surrounding booths.
I really like that they've added the booths and there's going to be stuff there. And I think all of those balloons that you pop will give you points as well, but we'll get to that.
And spend their pledge marks on exclusive sealed rewards and equipment. A unique addition is the mysterious fortune teller machine. Here you can...
The mysterious fortune teller looks remarkably like the guy who is in charge over at Crytek. I think he's like the head of Hunt. Remarkably looks like him. I think Psycho Ghost spotted that as well.
Use pledge marks to let fate decide on random traits or other rare rewards you receive. These fortune teller machines will appear in the Murder Circus compounds, as well as randomly at supply points. Many grunts that roam the world during the event will be members of the circus, running around with their murderous laughs and freaky costumes. Hunting them down will yield extra event points.
So I just want to say, I'm not sure about the player skins that are coming. As you can see, there's one on the screen now when they've got the pause screen, the screen for the titles between this. The ones that are for players feel a bit out of place in Hunt Showdown. It's a bit like the pumpkin heads. However, I really love the theme for the event. I really love that there are enemies that are clowns. They look creepy as hell. I do really appreciate they've gone to the lengths of doing something very different there. Or at least different in the sense that it's something new to interact with and look at.
To make the circus even more exciting, we have a new monster coming. Say hello to Ursa Mortis, a two-headed bear who can smell nearby bleeding hunters and will charge at them in a frenzy or attack with a lethal roar. Slay the monster for a good chance of getting a free trade.
So, I originally thought this was going to be a mini-boss, but I think it's actually going to be more along the lines of the meathead. Because it just talks about chance of getting a free trait. It doesn't say anything about like a roaming boss or mini boss like we've had in the past. I guess this is just their variation of a meathead, and rather than going after you poisoned, it goes after you for bleeding, I guess.
You'll be able to vow your hunter's allegiance to one of three factions known as Troupes. The pledge boxes are found at the Circus Compound or at supply points. When you pledge to a troupe, your hunter will be rewarded with a first trait. To be granted your troupe's second trait, you can further deepen your vow by pledging again for a few pledge marks.
So, that's something that was in some of the previous events where you pledged once and then you pledged again for the pledge marks, and you got an extra, or that particular faction's additional trait. And we haven't had that in the... certainly was the last two events, but I'm glad to see that coming back because it gives you something to spend those points on, especially now they're letting you have 9 of those pledge marks, which is a massive increase from 4. And we'll talk about this quickly because it's a great place to pause the video. This is probably one of the most important things for a lot of players, which is how many points you're going to get towards the event for each kill or each action. So extracting with a bounty token or becoming the sole survivor is 30. Fine, that's quite reasonable. Killing the targets, the Ursa Mortis, or activating the Wellspring, 15. So kill targets is any of the boss targets. So that's reasonable. 15's not bad. Loot any hunter for the first time, 8. I'm sure that used to be 10. Was it 8 in the last event? I think it was still 10. I can't remember if it was still 10 then. I think that's a shame that they've dropped that again. I do worry they're finding ways to drop the amount of points you get because they're hoping people will spend more real-world cash on going up the levels, which I'm a little bit funny about, to be honest. Investigating clues or causing rifts is 6, and I'm sure that used to be 8. But I could be making that up. I'm pretty sure it was 8. Meatheads, 5. Reasonable. Circus grunts, 3, because they're special, but how many circus grunts are there going to be on a map? Destroying balloons is 3, which is great if there's a lot of balloons, but I imagine there's not going to be that many. Kill hives or hellhounds, and kill armoreds or immolators only get you 1. I don't know, I feel like armoreds and immolators and probably hives should give you at least 2. Hellhounds I can understand giving 1 each, because they're usually in a group. But like immolators in particular, I think maybe hives and armoreds 2, and immolators should give 3. I realise it would make that list a little bit longer, but I just feel like they're reducing the amount of points you get every single event, which I'm not a big fan of. As someone who doesn't have excessive amounts of time to play the game, and you then fall back to having to rely on the missions to get the points to finish the event. Which is fine in one sense, but, you know, there'll be people out there who just can't complete some of those missions. Anyhow, let's move on.
To earn pledge marks, players collect event points. They receive 1 pledge mark for every 25 points collected. Hunters can also now hold up to 9 pledge marks, with some seed rewards costs having been adjusted around this. Furthermore, as a twist, it is now possible to loot pledge marks from enemy hunters.
So, this is an interesting new mechanic. Stealing mechanic. When looting a hunter, you steal their pledge marks up to the maximum of 9 total. The looted hunter loses any pledge marks stolen, but can retain some if the looting hunter reaches their maximum amount in the process. So, well, I guess that relates to you lose them, but then if you get resurrected, then you get to keep the ones that are left on you. Because if your hunter dies, then it's dead. So it's not like you leave the game and then you lose them after the fact. Hunters are able to carry 9 pledge marks at a time. Pledge marks are earned by performing the following actions. 1 pledge mark for 25 event points collected. 2 pledge marks for banishing the boss target in Bounty Clash. Ooh. And 3 pledge marks for becoming the sole survivor. 2 pledge marks for banishing the boss target in Bounty Clash. That's quite nice. Although I suppose, to be fair, in Bounty Clash, you're probably a lot more likely to die after you do that banish. So, is there a big advantage to getting 2 pledge marks there? Not sure. Love the game mode. It's really good for doing all of the missions, the weekly missions. It gets them done really quickly because you've obviously got constant combat. Anyhow.
Don't hold on to them for too long. The Trick Shooter Troupe is focused on the mastery of weapons and tools and features 2 traits. Blademancer, which allows you to retrieve nearby launched blades via Darkside, and Crackshot, which slightly reduces your weapon's spread and recoil.
I mean, both of those seem pretty good. Crackshot in particular I like. Anything that's going to help me aim is good. The previous one, I guess, things that help you find blades, that's going to relate to one of the weapons we're going to meet shortly, I guess.
The Mystic Troupe channels Darkside to misdirect and confuse their enemies, and track them with every noise they make. The traits you gain by pledging to this troupe are Poltergeist, which allows you to manipulate nearby doors, windows, and other interactions.
I think that's going to be fun if you're a very stealthy solo player, because obviously people rely a lot on sound, and if you mess with a door, you can trick people into running in front of your line of sight, shall we say.
And Blast Sense, which allows you to see gunshots and explosions in Darkside.
So that one was in a previous event, and it's back. It's alright, I guess. It doesn't really excite me very much.
The troupe is centered around the circus's ringmaster, putting on a show with spectacle and mind tricks. The traits you'll gain by pledging to this troupe are Shadow Crush, which allows you to wound and kill monsters via Darkside.
Okay, so Shadow Crush raises a few questions, which they don't explain there. I'm assuming you're going to take damage while doing damage to the enemy. And I'm not sure how much damage you're going to be doing to them. Because if you can do it to the targets, they have a lot of health technically. So, if you had a team of 3 people, can you kill a boss target using it? Lots of questions about that one.
And Corpse Seer, which grants you a 2nd of Darkside boost for every looted hunter.
The Darkside boost thing is going to come in because he's going to talk about that in a minute. But basically, I think now, it's not just going to be if you have the bounty token, you can get Darkside boost. There's now going to be ways to get it, such as having that trait and looting a hunter. So that's a big change. That's a really big gameplay mechanic change, giving more players Darkside. I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's an interesting change. We'll see.
Speaking of which, while it is now possible for hunters to obtain Darkside boost even without carrying a bounty token, the location where the Darkside boost was gained will be shown on a map with a scorch mark every time a hunter receives it.
So it'll show up, but only when you gain it. It won't be an ongoing thing, which means that you won't know who exactly has Darkside. So that's a big change, because at least with the bounties, you know they have the Darkside on them, or are likely to have Darkside. So it'll be interesting to see how that works, because you won't know these people have Darkside potentially.
Another quality of life change with this update is that players can now choose when to activate their Darkside boost. This allows players to conserve this precious resource much more easily.
Okay, so he's about to say that if you prefer it the old way, you can still have it that way. But this, again, is a big change to the gameplay. I mean, I quite like it, or the idea of it at least, because it is frustrating when you're just trying to scan for something like the next clue for the second boss, but you're wasting your Darkside. However, at the same time, it takes away the mechanic of being cautious with how you use your Darkside and how you're using that Darkside boost. And, having one team member use it all up so they can scan for stuff while the other person waits for you to get into a firefight. It's completely changing that dynamic. So, I don't know how I feel about that. It's a big change, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I'm assuming that's a permanent change and not just for this event, unless everyone hates it, in which case they might reverse it.
A legacy option where it starts to burn the moment you enter Darkside will still remain for those who prefer it. One of the coolest elements of Post Malone's Murder Circus is the new weapon, the Shredder. It's a fast-firing, powerful saw blade launcher which can only be obtained from the circus tent by spending pledge marks. It fires both saw blades and frag blades. Only one shredder appears in a circus tent per mission, so keep an eye out for your opportunity to grab one. The saw blades are able to bounce off hard surfaces and around corners, and are edged with runes to give them potential to ricochet in the direction of nearby enemies.
This is really cool. I mean, really, really cool. First thing is, it just looks like a cool weapon. And I'm glad it's just for this event. It's not going to be available afterwards. It's just for this event. I like the fact that you have to get it on the map. I like the fact that it's something completely different as well. I love the ricochet. I think that's going to make for some really fun kill shots. I'm curious about the whole thing where it's saying it's got runes on it, so it will ricochet towards enemies. Does that mean just enemies as in, you know, the meathead there? Like AI enemies? Or does it also mean other players? Because that would be quite powerful if you're guaranteed to get a ricochet towards an enemy hunter around a corner. That's pretty brutal. I'm not sure I like that idea. I can understand against the AI, but I'm not sure I would want that against enemy players. That might be a bit too strong. It's already going to be pretty strong if you can bounce these blades around the corner at someone.
Frag blades burst into lethal shrapnel a few seconds after launch and cannot be retrieved. The shredder will only be available during Post Malone's Murder Circus and will disappear once the event is ended. Of course, no event is complete without new rewards, and with Post Malone's Murder Circus, we are bringing in some awesome circus-themed prizes designed to surprise and delight any hunter out there. We've also got some awesome hunters up for grabs this event, including the Ringmaster himself.
This skin looks really cool. A little bit bright in colour, but a very cool looking skin. I expect we're going to see that a lot, especially for people who are genuine fans of Post Malone as well.
Master himself, Post Malone, as well as other themed hunters like
This is maybe a bit much. I think they're great for the event, but clowns don't... I mean, they're obviously very dark clowns, but I just don't feel like they necessarily fit in with Hunt Showdown in general. It's maybe towards the extreme of that. They're amazing skins. They look really cool. But I'm not sure. And again, you know, a really cool, well-designed skin, but it doesn't really fit with Hunt Showdown. And I apologize if my puppy can be heard in the background of this video. She is just woken up from a nap and she's yelping.
Here's a little sneak peek of some of the weapon skins you can expect. First, we have the Marble Saw, a terminus shotgun.
That's gorgeous. Credit where credit is due. The team have done an amazing job on designing some of the guns for this event. Not all of them are shown here, the skins. I don't know if some of these skins are going to be in the Battle Pass. I think these ones are, but I don't know if some of the other ones are going to be like purchasable with the hunters they come with and things like that. Because we've seen some stuff in the other trailers, if you've watched them, where we're probably going to get a very Harley Quinn looking hunter, and she's holding what I assume is a very colourful uppercut. And that one, I think, is very much because Post Malone likes the uppercut. So I expect that's why that's got a skin. Maybe a little bit bright, but again, fun for the event, right? Anyhow, Terminus, Marble Saw, very pretty, with that saw blade on it as well. And I like the barbed wire wrapped around some of the parts of it as well.
Next, we have the Lap of Luxury.
Again, beautiful weapon. The detailing, it just looks very elegant. I really like that gun. You know, some of my friends who play the game really don't like any of the flamboyant stuff with anything wrapped around the guns and stuff, so they'll love this.
1865 carbine. And lastly, we have Fate's Friend, a Centennial Pointman.
Okay, so now we're getting into the circus stuff. This one's a little bit more flamboyant. Loving the gold detailing. Again, it looks very nice for the event, and obviously it goes along very well with the event. Is it something I want to run around with? I'm not sure, because I feel like it's going to be very visible when I'm hiding in a bush. Personal thing, perhaps, but yeah. I like the design itself is nice. If the colour wasn't there and it was just brown with the gold extra bits, I'd probably be more enthused by it, but I'm sure some people out there will love it.
As well as all new weapons and equipment you can first try out during the event. Choconu.
I mean, surely some people will remember this from Age of Empires 2. Really pleased to see this added. Will be very interesting to see what kind of ammunition it can have. For me, because of the shape and size of it, you'd think it can only really have small ammo types, so just bolts, or, you know, the steel bolts, etc. I'm not sure it would be able to have, like, a frag bolt, because that would be insane.
Crack silencer.
More silenced weapons coming in here. This isn't the only one. I'm not a big fan of the Krag. I really struggle with it. I don't know why. The Krag in particular, I just really struggle with. No idea why. But it's a nice weapon. And it's nice to see more silenced weapons coming in, I guess, when you're wanting to be stealthy.
Subsonic bullets.
Subsonic ammo. Smaller, weighted bullets with less gunpowder, which travel slower than the speed of sound for quieter gunshots. So that's obviously to combat people having the trait that allows you to see people in dark sight that have, you know, shot a gun. I'm assuming that's going to have an effect on that. Can I imagine myself taking it very much? Not really. Something that moves slower is worse for my aiming, so probably not for me. Unless there's a specific, you know, mission where I have to use them.
Sparks pistol silencer.
Sparks is a very nice weapon. And the Sparks pistol is also a pretty nice weapon, and at the ranges you're working at and stuff, having a silenced pistol like that is very nice.
Recovery shot.
A shot that restores a lost health chunk. Just one. I'm assuming there's not going to be like a weak and strong version of it where it... Well, maybe there is. Maybe they're going to have a strong version that restores all your health chunks. I mean, that's pretty cool if you're expecting to get stuff burned off. It's a nice addition. Is it too strong? I'm not. It depends how much it costs. And also it takes up a slot that you put something else in. And you're not necessarily guaranteed to be going to lose a health chunk where, you know, you're probably going to get injured in a match. So this versus taking a regen shot, for example, difficult.
1865 carbine aperture.
I'm not a huge fan of the aperture sight, so not for me, but I'm sure some people out there like them.
Maynard sniper silencer.
I mean, a silent sniper? Yes, please. That's going to be fun to play with.
New trait, fast fingers.
This is really cool. So this was one of the things that Post Malone talked about in the interview, right? Fast fingers, where you have bullets in your fingers ready to put in the gun. And as someone who loves to play with a Springfield, this is a godsend. I love the Springfield. It is one of my favorite weapons in the game. And having this is a wonderful trait. And it sounds like this is permanent. So that's quite cool.
That's all for now, hunters. We are so excited to bring such a unique event to you, and we look forward to seeing you in the death tent of Post Malone's Murder Circus.
And I mean, there's nothing really else to say there, is there? Obviously, we'll find out more on the 12th and get all the other details, and I'm sure we'll see some more information on all of the traits and things before then and maybe see them in action. But thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you all on the 12th.